So recently, Ukraine launched an offensive into the Kursk oblast, and now I want to talk about it and share my views, so let's begin. To start off, let's give a brief rundown of the events in the Kursk oblast in 2024 and the situation as a whole compared to previous incursions in the Belgorod oblast in 2023. So to begin, in 2023, there were raids and incursions into the Belgorod oblast, as you can see here on this map. But these were short-lived and carried out by Russian opposition groups such as the Freedom of Russia Legion and the Russian Volunteer Corps, among other opposition groups. But this offensive in Kursk this year is different. This time the offensive is being carried out by Ukrainian forces, and it basically started on 6th August 2024 as just another raid, but rapidly escalated from there, with now on the 9th of August 2024, as of the writing of this script at the time, with Sudzha being under Ukrainian control, and it's still under Ukrainian control as you can see here, and with the Russian army failing to stop the offensive, which means now that the Russian army is now the second best army inside of Russia. Now, the response by the Russian government and President Vladimir Putin has been to call this offensive a large-scale provocation, and the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, Maria Zakharova, has called this offensive a terrorist act, and has called on the international community to condemn this offensive and condemn the criminal attacks of the Kiev regime on Russian territory, completely ignoring the irony of the whole situation, considering that it was Russia who launched this war in Ukraine on the 24th of February 2024 with the dubious at best special military operation, and it is Russia who is still waging this war and bombing Ukrainian territory, including bombing a supermarket in Kostiantynivka in Donetsk Oblast. Now I want to make something clear. This entire war in Ukraine was completely unnecessary to begin with. By the beginning of 2022, Ukraine was already ineligible for NATO membership due to the Russian capture and annexation of Crimea back in 2014, and due to the existence of rebel republics in Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts in the east of Ukraine, as you can see here. This right here is Donetsk, and this right here is Lugansk. If things have stayed the way they are, the rebel republics in the Donbas would have still been independent even without full control over their territorial claims, and Ukraine would have still been somewhat neutral, and Finland and Sweden would have never felt the need to join NATO, as these countries joined NATO as a direct result of Russian actions in Ukraine. This leaves us with the conclusion that the NATO expansion thing and the supposed threat NATO causes to Russia is only a pretext or an excuse used to legitimize what is in reality an expansionist war by Russia to annex parts of Ukraine, if not the whole country. And if there's anything that is largely agreed upon in the 21st century, it's that wars of expansion are not a good thing, and that countries shouldn't wage these types of wars, and for the most part wars of expansion were relegated to the fringes until 24th of February 2022, when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now, my opinion on this offensive, and in particular the Russian response to it, are the following. This offensive by Ukraine was very well done and well coordinated, and it is much better than the failed offensive in Zaporizhia Oblast in 2023, where the only successes were in Robotyne. Keep in mind, in that offensive the goal was to reach at least Tokmak or Melitopol, but Ukrainian forces failed and even lost Robotyne probably this year, and this is due to Russia fortifying the entire defensive line in the south, that being Zaporizhia Oblast and southern parts of Donetsk Oblast. Now, on the border region between Russia and Ukraine, it appears that there were no strong fortifications, though this didn't matter, as until now Ukraine was never allowed to directly attack or invade Russia, and Russia only had to worry about what was going on in Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson oblasts, these same oblasts that they annexed with dubious referendums. While it is not known if Ukraine can hold the lands it has gained in Kursk Oblast, the fact that it has managed to sustain an offensive operation within Russian territory for several days now shows that Russia does not have as strong of a defensive capability as previously thought. I don't know if this offensive is meant to be long-term, or if it will be like a PR stunt like Krinky, but whatever happens, it is a huge slap in the face towards the Russian establishment and the Kremlin. But now I want to discuss my thoughts on Russia's reaction to these events. As stated before, Vladimir Putin considers this a large-scale provocation, and Maria Zakharova has condemned this offensive as a terrorist act, and has called on the international community to condemn Ukraine. But here's the thing. Vladimir Putin and Maria Zakharova have zero right to complain or condemn Ukraine, or demand that the international community does anything, considering that Vladimir Putin himself ordered the start of the special military operation on dubious and potentially illegitimate justification, and still oversees it. Whatever damage and occupation Ukraine did in Kursk is vastly overshadowed by Russian activity in Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Kharkiv oblasts, among other areas. And to add more to this, Vladimir Putin has no right to call this offensive a provocation, given the circumstances, and because of the fact that he did call it a provocation, he is a massive hypocrite, and any Russian attempt to get the international community to condemn Ukraine over its offensive in Kursk is a sham, and I'm glad the international community is not buying it, particularly because both Russia and China are a major threat to world peace, especially with Chinese saber-rattling in Taiwan. To call the Ukrainian offensive in Kursk a provocation would be like me attacking someone and trying to take over their house, them defending their house and them launching a surprise attack on my own house while still defending their own. Wars go both ways, and Vladimir Putin should have expected that Ukraine would do something to Russian territory the moment it started bombing Ukrainian territory. Failure to consider that shows a lack of competence and leadership ability on the part of the Russian political elite. And to wrap this up, here is my prediction for how this offensive will go. Russia will probably recapture all territory currently held by Ukrainian forces in the Kursk Oblast. It will take them a while to do it, but they will succeed. However, in order to recapture these areas, Russia will need to pull reinforcements from other areas, such as Donetsk or Luhansk, which means that efforts to capture Pokrovsk may be significantly delayed, and Ukraine may even be able to defend Chasiv Yar for a while, thus weakening Russia. And also defending the key cities of Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, as well as Kupiansk. Overall, this offensive has done a great job of weakening the credibility of the Russian army on the world stage, and it will be interesting to see how the world moves on from now. I know I haven't mentioned the mobilizations and conscription, especially conscription in Ukraine, but that deserves to be its own video since it's a complex subject. With that being said, this has been Igor MGTOW and Video Games. Like and subscribe and click the bell notifications on YouTube if you enjoyed the video, and follow me on odyssey.com, MGTOW.tv and Twitter, and join my Gilded and Revolt servers. Also let me know if I should do more commentary on the Ukraine war and the war in Gaza, as well as tensions surrounding Israel and Hezbollah. And bye bye. Thanks for watching.